Ukraine's president has begun lashing out at his own allies, with Volodymyr Zelensky hinting that some Western partners may be more interested in pushing him out of power than in helping him win the war against Russia. Zelensky says he now suspects that certain allies are pressing so hard for elections because they want to use the vote as a convenient pretext to get rid of him. Zelensky has gone on what critics call a rant against the West, even as the United States increases pressure on him to announce an election timetable. Men once hailed as Ukraine's saviors are now being portrayed as potential saboteurs, at least in his rhetoric. Amid the grinding war with Russia, Ukraine's president has publicly hinted that some Western allies might be plotting a soft ouster, using democracy and election demands as a tool. Zelensky told the BBC that Ukraine's allies may be pushing for elections not simply out of democratic principle, but as a pretext to get rid of him if the outcome goes against him. He made the remarks in a BBC interview aired on February 22, in which, according to RT's framing, his comments were seen as an open challenge to parts of the Western alliance. The war with Russia began in February 2022, but Zelensky's original presidential term expired in 2024, creating a growing debate over his continued stay in office. However, Zelensky did not hold elections in 2024, arguing that martial law and the ongoing invasion make a nationwide vote impossible and unconstitutional. Once the initial end date of Zelensky's tenure passed, Russia began calling him illegitimate, claiming his mandate has expired and using that line to undermine his standing internationally. Moscow now argues that Zelensky's questionable legal status as president could render any peace deal with him void, saying a future government might disown agreements he signs. In his BBC interview, Zelensky said he was in principle open to holding elections, but then recited a long list of obstacles, from security to displaced voters to occupied territories. The Ukrainian president listed the following obstacles: millions of Ukrainians displaced abroad, Kyiv's lack of full territorial control, and a need to amend electoral legislation. At one point, Zelensky made a remark directed at Western partners. It was interpreted as a direct challenge. Zelensky had said, quote, "I told the partners, you need to decide one thing. You want to get rid of me or you want to hold elections. Hold them in a way that the Ukrainian people will recognize, first of all. And you yourself must recognize that these are legitimate elections." Unquote. US President Donald Trump has been publicly pushing Zelensky to hold elections in Ukraine, arguing that a vote is essential for Kyiv's democratic legitimacy. Trump has even branded Zelensky a dictator without elections on social media, attacking him over the lack of timely polls despite the ongoing invasion. Zelensky now appears at least rhetorically open to holding elections within the next 2 to 3 months, provided certain conditions are met. He has demanded Western security guarantees and, crucially, a ceasefire from Russia as preconditions for organizing nationwide polls that Ukrainians and allies would consider legitimate. Russia has opposed even a temporary ceasefire framed around elections, saying such a pause would simply allow Kyiv to regroup, rearm, and fortify positions before fighting resumes. A survey cited by RT suggested that elections could be perilous for Zelensky's political future, potentially explaining some of his caution. A SOSIS poll published in December 2025 showed that former army chief Valerii Zaluzhnyi would decisively win a head-to-head runoff against Zelensky if elections were held. According to that poll, Zaluzhnyi would secure around 64% of the vote in a second round, while Zelensky would receive only about 36%, highlighting the risks he faces at the ballot box.